Toyota Land Cruiser is a fantastic off-roader if that's what you're after, but SUVs such as the BMW X5 are more comfortable and refined on the road. If you want a 4x4 that's a proper off-roader, the Toyota Land Cruiser should be right at the top of your shopping list. It's popular with people who live in the harshest conditions on Earth, which should tell you everything you need to know about its off-road ability and unrivaled reliability. Like its off-road focused equivalents, the Toyota Land Cruiser looks suitably rugged. It has a retro-inspired boxy design, with chunky bumpers, rugged running boards, and a big, flat bonnet. The slim LED headlights are the key giveaway that this is a modern car, though. Inside, the old-school, utilitarian approach continues, but in a good way. Sure, you have the requisite infotainment display atop the dashboard, but you also get lots of dials and switches that are easy to use on the move. They're chunky so you can use them with gloves on. The trade-off for this ruggedness is the fact that there are plenty of cheap materials to be found, particularly lower down in the cabin. You do get some squidgy plastics on stuff you touch regularly, but the Land Rover Defender and Mercedes G-Class are posher inside while still being tough. There's just the one engine option available on the Toyota Land Cruiser. It's a 2.8-liter diesel engine making 204 horsepower and 500 Newton-meter of torque. It's mated to a new 8-speed automatic transmission and permanent 4-wheel drive. Toyota hasn't confirmed official fuel economy figures, but you can expect it to be fairly thirsty. Around 30 miles per gallon is likely. A second engine will join the lineup in 2025 using mild hybrid technology and should be a bit more economical as a result. Vehicle excise duty and company car tax will be confirmed at a later date, but you can expect high CO2 emissions and therefore expensive rates for both. If you want to keep costs low here, consider plug-in hybrid or electric alternatives. Space and storage are pretty good for those in the front, but considering this is a big SUV, it's a bit more cramped in the back than you might expect. Go for the 7-seat version and kneeroom is okay in the third row, but the lack of underthigh support isn't great for a long drive. The boot capacity is 408 liters, which means it's quite a bit smaller than all of its alternatives, but the practical square shape makes it look much bigger than the numbers suggest. Out on the road, the Land Cruiser's boxy shape and big windows mean visibility is excellent, and the steering is light so town driving is pretty easy. However, rough roads can cause the car to shimmy and shake because of its off-road focused construction, so it's not the most comfortable car over bumps, and it's a bit noisier at motorway speeds than the Defender and G-Class. However, when you head off the beaten track, the Land Cruiser is up there with the very best of them. You can bomb along dirt tracks with little worry for ruts in the path ahead, and there's loads of clever tech that drags you through the worst the countryside can throw at you. Boggy pits, river crossings, and steep inclines are no match for this big Toyota. The Land Rover Defender feels more sophisticated here, but not more capable. Toyota has not yet confirmed pricing for the Toyota Land Cruiser, however we expect it to start at around $55,000 or $60,000. That would make it a bit more affordable than the entry-level versions of the Land Rover Defender and Jeep Wrangler, and about half the price of the more luxurious Mercedes G-Class. The Toyota Land Cruiser might be a big 4x4, but it's actually not very difficult to drive around town because its tall, boxy shape and large windows mean visibility is excellent. You also get massive wing mirrors, and there are cameras all around the car. Their primary use is helping you navigate tight country lanes, but they're also useful for threading your way through inner-city width restrictors or dodging curbs. As speeds increase, you really start to notice it's not quite as quiet and refined as the Defender or more road-focused SUVs such as the BMW X5. The engine is powerful enough to get you up to 70 miles per hour without fuss, but the suspension continues to jiggle a bit over bumps and there's a noticeable whistle from the chunky door mirrors. The seats are at least very comfortable for long stints behind the wheel. Out on a country road, the Toyota Land Cruiser performs admirably. The engine is a bit more grumbly than those you get in the Defender and X5, but that's about where the complaints end. The body doesn't lean too much in corners, and the gearbox is swift to respond when you need a new gear. However, when you get off-road, the Land Cruiser is in its element. Dirt tracks pass by like paved tarmac, and when the going gets tough, it's easy to switch to the different modes to improve traction. You can switch to low-ratio gears and activate the locking differentials, and coupled with the all-wheel drive, pull yourself through some seriously boggy terrain. With all this technology and the clever cameras that can show you what's beneath the car, it feels like nothing is unsurpassable. It's just as capable as a Land Rover Defender or Jeep Wrangler out in the wild. Space and practicality is pretty good for those in the front, but the rear seats are more cramped than you might expect. You sit tall in the Toyota Land Cruiser, and thanks to the low dashboard and window lines, you have a great view of the road ahead. The driving position is comfortable, and there's a good range of adjustment from the electrically operated seats and steering wheel. The door bins offer useful storage and are split into compartments for added usefulness, while the space beneath the armrest can be cooled at the press of a button so your chocolate won't melt in the sun. There are 2 cup holders and wireless phone charging ahead of the gear shifter, as well as 3 USB-C slots and even a space to plug in an HDMI cable. Rear seat space is less impressive considering the size of the car, but there's enough kneeroom and headroom for a 6-footer to not feel too cramped. The low window line gives you a great view out and makes the back feel bright and airy. It's not great for the third person in the middle seat though, because they will be perched quite high. The cushion isn't very comfortable, and there's a wide transmission tunnel to perch their feet either side of. With a capacity of 408 liters, the Toyota Land Cruiser has a smaller capacity boot than any of the other off-roaders you might consider. The Land Rover Defender 110 has 786 liters in 5-seat mode, the Mercedes G-Class has 667 liters, and the 5-door Jeep Wrangler gets 533 liters. The infotainment system works well, and there are plush materials to hand, but there are lots of scratchy plastics lower in the cabin. You get a 9.0 or 12.3-inch touchscreen display, depending on the trim level, and this works really well. You also get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay integration, and these give you access to an app that's essentially an off-road sat-nav for finding your way around the countryside. There's also a digital driver's display with a few different screens depending on the driving situation, and it can show you relevant off-road information such as the angle of the car so you don't topple over. That's it for today.